La Lanterna, a spotlight in Italian football, is a podcast that dives into the beautiful game seen from the eyes of two fans from the oldest team in Italy's point of view. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, Canadian and Genovese, together with my friend Matt Killen, an American-born and Genoa fan. Every week, we'll tell you all you need to know about the only team you need to know about, Genoa CFC. Plus, we'll have guests and provide updates from around the magical world of Italian football. Benvenuti, welcome to La Lanterna podcast. This is Fabrizio with my best buddy.
Hey, Fabry, it is Matt. Episode 69, huh? Good old 69.
Oh, I love that number.
Had to make a 69 joke at the beginning.
So wait. What's the topic about today then, if it's a 69th episode? I'm joking.
Genoa gets fucked by Ladea.
Oh, no.
No.
I mean, all right. So let's start off the bat right then and there. So Genoa goes to the Weiss Stadium, or however the pronunciation is.
Yeah, it's not a German company. Is that a German company? I mean, obviously it's in Bergamo. Why is it called
Weiss? I don't know. Yeah, something. So it's at Bergamo. So Atalanta hosts Genoa.
Yep.
We have 5 major players out. One because of red card, which is Martinez. Mm-hmm. We're missing our midfield, which is Badel and Strootman. We're missing our attack, which is Retegui. And that's right there, 4? I'm missing one. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who's the 5th one, but anyways. Oh, yeah, Yellow. But I mean, he's a bencher, but nevertheless, he's still one that is missing. Yes. So obviously, Gilardino had to do a whole bunch of studies around how to put the team together. He ended up with a 3-5-2, which we always know that can be transformed in different ways, from a 5-3-2 without ball possession, et cetera, et cetera. But nevertheless, the good thing is that Gilardino once again is able to essentially put up a team, even though without a lot of major players, to hold off the fort for quite a long time. For the first time, it's not happening in the last 10 minutes, which will have some. I'd like to spend
almost though. Well, actually, no, sorry, not true. The 68 that was earlier in the match.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd like to then spend a little moment about that after. But let's say that the goal this time, which is not necessarily a positive thing, it just only means nothing. Yeah. So the ultimate result was 2-0. So what did you think about the match?
Well, I will give my probably only positive note, but there's 2 positive notes. Get that out of the way. We don't always do this. We usually go the negative stuff first. One, by the way, I, for some reason, completely misremembered this. I knew this was a thing, but I had assumed that we'd seen him at least once this season, just because how big he was last year. First appearance in Serie A for Vogliacco. So huge accomplishment for him. Very proud of him. It was nice to see the comments after the game. Obviously, like when a player loses a match, you're usually disappointed, but I think for him, realizing a childhood dream, kind of a special thing. Very happy to see him. I saw him dedicate the result to Miljojevic as well, which I thought was kind of nice. So well done to Vogliacco. I hope we see him more within the squad. I think, honestly, defensively, we have so many good players, and it seems like we've really almost nailed on having the back kind of group be pretty much more or less what it is, that it'll be hard for him maybe to break in as often. But we saw class from him last season. I know he got on in like the very last minute of the game. So it was just really to kind of meet that first appearance. But let's hope we find a way to continue to develop him, because I think he's going to be important for us in the future. Other positive for me, we said at the very beginning of the season, we had like a little bit of a chat after our Coppa Italia match. And I said, I think Leali will do himself good. This was the match he did that. He was absolutely fantastic. I think there were several instances where he had made incredible saves. We were under siege a little bit at the beginning stages of the match, and also a little bit in the second half. And I think for me, he has to be the clear man of the match for the performance from a Genoa perspective.
MVP of the match.
Really did everything you'd expect him to do. Very, very sound goalkeeping. We didn't see those crazy kind of nerviness playing from the back that we saw against Modena. So I thought really like a positive add-on. And honestly, I don't think we're in too much of a goalkeeper controversy just because of how much Martinez has been a backbone to the squad. But Leali made a really good case for himself being in that position. And I tell you what, like there have been a pretty fair bit of nervy moments from Martinez this year. I'm not advocating that we switch. I know how much this can be like a weird psychology thing for keepers as well to be going back and forth. I don't think it's going to be positive for us to continually do that. But at least there's a good sign that we have a good keeper at number 2. You know, we're not going to be in completely dire situations if for some reason Martinez is hurt or gets suspended again or whatever it might be. The rest, I don't know if you have any other positives you want to add on there or if you want to.
Yeah, I want to actually go on the pointers that you pointed out. So yes, I agree with Vogliacco. If I'm not mistaken, that's also how he started last year. He started as a bencher, then because of injuries and so on, and then he came irreplaceable for the race to the promotion. And right now, he has only been quote unquote unlucky because of so many good players, including Vasquez and so on.
I think Vasquez is the big difference, yeah.
Yeah, to your point is that in the defense, we're like so strongly kept. Well, you know, have those right players. And I think he's been only, again, good for us in a way to be overabundant in great players. But unfortunately for him, there hasn't been really much time or place for him to step in. Mm-hmm. But good that he has been just like even for a minute or two at the very tail end. But at least it was his official debut in Serie A. Another one that had also a debut, and I think it's very important, is our 17-year-old Sidoyu Fini, which we've heard
teams too, which is awesome.
We've heard a lot of excellent things from Primavera, and he's so young. He's in the Italian squad as well, and so he's. I saw pictures of him and he was like 5 or 6 years old in the Cantera Rossoblu. So he's been playing with Genoa since ever, and no, it's remarkable, and I really actually liked his. I think he came in on towards the end as well, but he had a good 10 minutes play. He brought that freshness to the right side of the pitch, which Gilardino needed, and he did bring it and didn't do much because then at the end we know what the result was. But anyways, it was a positive show for Fini. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're right. Going back to Vogliacco, he dedicated to his former, because he passed, father-in-law, Sinisa Mihajlovic. And that was very nice as well. And to the last point that you touched upon, I'm very happy actually to have seen such a solid performance by Leali. I don't think, in my opinion, for me anyways, I don't think he's the VIP of the match, but he definitely is at par with possibly Vasquez again, in my opinion. But, you know, others might see it differently. Others talk about Gudmundsson. I think it was not the best match. Let's go to the formation. So Leali and our goal. Then we had the usual trio, Vasquez, Bani, and Dragusin. And then in the midfield, from the left to right again, we have Haps, we have Malinowski, Frendrup, Thorsby, Sabelli. And then in the front, more like of a 3-5-1-1, I suppose, or Ekuban and Gudmundsson. Yeah. So let's quickly talk about the individuals. I think besides Bani, which was a little bit on a lower tone compared to the previous matches, but let's not forget that he had a very difficult player to defend against, which was Kamaka. But at the end, they both kind of annulled each other, but you saw a few mistakes here and there. Bani, I think the trio is still the trio. What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to upset this group, honestly. Like we just talked about Vogliacco. I think last season he was the third player in this trio instead of Vasquez, at least when we were lining up in this formation. I think really, like in the times where we do play with 3 center backs, there's a really good argument for Vasquez being in that position. He's just looked one of the better players for us for most of this season defensively. And then, okay, maybe Bani, but Bani's our most experienced defender. So, you know, I don't think you take Bani out of that situation either, just because of the way he plays that position differently as a senior player. So I think it's pretty locked in. And of course, Dragusin is Dragusin. So yeah, I think that's our squad really. And then we've got a player like Vogliacco who can come off the bench. It's fantastic.
Yep.
And perhaps if we need to have I don't know if you'd ever play Vasquez in like the position where Haps was. It's kind of crazy. I know we've played him in left back before, but maybe there's an opportunity there for Voyako or something. But anyway.
Then in the midfield, we have Haps, Malinowski, Frendrup, Thorsby, Sabelli. I'll start on talking about these ones. Haps, I find that it was very different than what I was expecting from him compared to last year. In Serie B, I think he's a little bit less than what I was remembering about him, or maybe it's just a different category of Serie A compared to Serie B that may make that difference of player. Malinowski, I think that we're still not seeing the Malinowski that we're expecting, that we are hoping. He has definitely increased in quality and quantity. Frendrup, another one that we never talk too much about him. We do, but not too much. But he's still our glory. Everybody wants him. I mean, he's perfect. Like, he just needs a little bit better launches and maybe a better foot for the shots. Other than that, he's a complete player. Thorsby, you know what I think about Thorsby. And this match only embellished what I feel about him. He's great with the head, but he's awful with the foot. Not even one good pass. What is he there for? Sometimes I wonder myself. But then he has that, glimpse of moment of Wonder Boy, which very few little far in between in this match. And then Sabelli, great player, quantity, zero quality with respect to technicality and so on. But he is a go-to person for the right side, and we saw even for the left. So he's that for the corridors. He's like our perfect go-to person. He will put those kilometers in his legs like if there was no tomorrow. What do you say about the midfield?
I don't know. It was a subpar performance overall. I think that's what it is. Frendrup had done very well. Malinowski, I think we've not seen him have his individual brilliant moments quite yet. We've not really seen him have his signature goal scored quite yet. I think those things are coming. I'm less worried about him. Thorsby got rinsed. I mean, there was a play that got nutmegged. It's just he definitely looks like, and unfortunately for us, some of our transfer business looks very hit or miss. And at the moment, he's more on the miss side of things. Haps, I'm with you. You kind of have to question what's going on a little bit. I mean, we've got a 30-year-old left back who is known for being pacey, but we don't really have a whole lot else. And I love Sabelli, but he completed half of his passes in this match, and he had 24 of them. He had 12 out of 24 accurate passes in the entire match. So it's kind of like you want to get a little bit more out of these guys. I don't think you can look at them and say, hey, we sucked. I don't think that's what happened. I think maybe you can say Thorsby had a pretty poor game, but I think on the whole, we didn't exactly shine in the way that we would hope for. But personally, I'm not overly critical of our players in any position in this match. I don't think this was a big one.
No, I agree. Then just to wrap it up, in the front, we have Ekuban, Goodmanson. As I said before, I think it was a little bit on a lower tone with respect to his usual, quality and show up that we always see from him. Could it be because there was no Retegui? Maybe not. But Ekuban, you hear left, right, and center from people always talking bad about him. Sure, a lot of chances that he could have taken, and he didn't have that many chances per se. Maybe because of the foot, but I still think that he brings what was bringing also last year, a lot of freshness and strong horsepower up to the front. And we kind of got unlucky, and because we'd never had any pure striker, because I don't see Ekuban as a striker, and I see him more as a winger, and that's perhaps where we lacked. In fact, when you see the benchers coming on, and who do you put in? Puskás, of course. Again, I kind of remember this guy that told us back in Serie B, don't talk bad about him because he did this or this and that. I'm sorry, but for Serie A, he's definitely not the player to have.
Yeah, he missed. It's obvious, I think, at this point.
So let's quickly talk about the two goals. So the second one, there's very little to talk. I'm going in reverse, but the second one is very little to talk about. It's a classic counterattack. We were trying to tried to get the ball in for the tie, and it was just a simple counterattack, and there was nothing that we could do about it. But the first one, that's a little bit, again, kudos. We knew about Atalanta. Right after this, we'll have also a quick commentary from our both previous guests, both Dan and Nick. But we knew it was going to be, even though I was probably the positive one this time around, and I said that I predicted there was going to be a 3-3, and I think Dan caught the 2-0. The goal by Lookman is another one to really talk about. Similarly to Pulisic, Was there a handball or not a handball? Not enough images. And essentially, it kind of worked with the same outcome, but the totally different way of things that happened. So this time around, it's the ref that actually calls the handball. VAR calls the ref, contrary to Pulisic, where the ref was not called at the VAR, and without any image that was clear showing that it was or was not a handball. If we were to use the same metrics, the same type of approach, that decision that we had with Milan, it should have been also not enough images to validate the goal, and the field call should stay. But instead, what happened was the opposite, that the goal was validated, because in their minds, there were enough images to see that the ball was not touched. Now, if I have to look at those videos, the truth is even more strong compared to the Pulisic. It's a lot more hard to find an image that would show that. My beef is against the refereeing, the officiating, and the VAR, where there's totally different type of approaches.
It's flat out ridiculous. Both of these things are ridiculous. There was a comment that came out today, I think from, I don't know, the refereeing bureau, or whatever you call it, in Italy, where they were saying that at the match at Marassi against Milan, when they took 5 minutes to review the Pulisic goal, the VAR was trying to decide whether or not the ball had been from the armpit up or down, which is convenient that they decided to release this 2 weeks after the fact, by the way, because they really worked on their story and got it straight. It's just fucking stupid.
Let me add to that, Matt. Sorry. It's actually something new that the zone is doing. It's something that contractually they said it was going to happen from, I'm not sure if it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks before that. And it's a new thing that the zone is going to release the audio from the VAR room. To your point, 2 weeks later, and almost clearly edited.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And I think when you look at there's all this, oh, we didn't have the angles, we didn't have these things. First of all, you guys were really discussing it for some period of time. And secondly, like I think there are very clear angles in multiple different still shots where that ball is on his arm. It's not in his armpit. It's not in this thing. Yes, it's kind of in the top half of his arm. It's not on his hand, but it's
on his bicep.
It's obvious. This isn't a debatable thing. And then for this to come and happen in our match, like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but it was clearly a gift to Milan. I think maybe it makes a little bit more sense. They're wanting the title race to be something or whatever. This one against Atalanta, the guy is sliding down and corralling the ball with his arm, and you can see it on the replay. So to say that all of a sudden, like, what is the justification for this to be overturned? Oh, it was obvious that now again it was his armpit. I mean, this one, it's even lower than the Pulisic goal, arguably. So it just, like, it doesn't make any sense. I think at the end of the day, within this match, I know I was feeling optimistic leading into Atalanta. I was kind of feeling like even without many of our players, Gilardino magic, there could be something we have. Maybe we get a result. We nearly got one against Milan. They're Milan. Like, we can surely do it against Atalanta. I think in the end, the boys did themselves fairly proud. I don't think you can really look at this and say, man, we're out of luck again. What's Gilardino going to do? I thought they had a decent enough plan. I think we were a little bit unlucky to not get a point out of the match. We got another bogey penalty call. I do think it's not outrageous to say that Atalanta deserved 3 points in this match. And Leali made some fantastic saves, which is why for me, he's the man of the match that kept it level. With the lesser keeper, we probably lose by 3 goals instead of 2. But at the end of the day, we lose the game. I think you have to move on. We're limited in players in this one, which obviously for us and the way our squad depth is put together, we're not a club that can afford to change out a lot of players and bring a lot of players in the summer. When we've got 4 or 5 players missing, 4 of whom are expected to be in your starting first 11, and you're going against a team like Atalanta, who's been playing European football and competing at really high levels, you're going to have a hard time. And I think really probably we were better placed to get a point out of this, and it just didn't happen in the end. So I think this one you just kind of have to write off and move on. The thing that is sour and sticks with you more is, once again, it seems like we got jobbed, and that sucks. Like, if really at the end of this match, It's the 90th minute +5 goal that they end up scoring, and that's it. You kind of think, well, the guys are fighting hard, they're getting tired, and we're a little bit unlucky. In this case, it almost sticks with you and makes you more upset because it feels like we are doing everything we can to compete. We're going against these top teams and giving them a match every single time. And at least in 2 separate instances, it seems like we've had, a really big decision go against us.
All right. To hear it from a different perspective, let's listen to a clip sent to us by Dan from our previous pod from Atalanta, Las Vegas.
This is Dan from the Atalanta pod. Atalanta Genoa ends 2-0, and I'm happy with the result, but truly was anything but comfortable. Despite more chances in precision of Atalanta in the final third, along, of course, with Genoa's resolve, kept the game really close until the very end. Honestly, had it not been for Carnesecchi's 95th minute save and that subsequent passage of play that saw Ederson score Atalanta's second, it could have easily ended 1-1. So some of our predictions came true, but we also had some surprises, such as Carnesecchi starting over Musso, honestly, which makes sense for the upcoming Europa League match against Sturm Graz on Thursday. But most surprisingly, Gas played the front three of Lookman, Scamacca, and De Ketelaere, which left De Roon and Ederson to handle the packed Genoa midfield. Despite being 2-0, the game was surprisingly entertaining, not the ugly match that we predicted, despite it honestly lacking a little bit of fluidity. As predicted, Atalanta dominated the possession at home, and both goalkeepers had a lot to say about the final outcome. Really, the pick of the saves were the aforementioned Carnesecchi save in the 95th minute, pretty much saved 2 points. And in the beginning of the second half, Leale had a really great save on a Scamacca flick. But another clean sheet at home, and Atalanta have yet to concede a home goal this season. Thankfully, this meant that Ruslan Malinovsky did not have to stick a dagger in the hearts of us Atalantini in front of the Curva Nord. But credit to Genoa and Gilardino. They did what they needed to do to stymie Atalanta's attack and created some good chances on their own, particularly from set pieces. But Gasperini still gets the results over his pupil, as he normally tends to do. Overall, a nervy game for both fan bases, which I'm sure translated into excitement for the neutrals. What more can a Calcio fan ask for?
Thank you, Dan. Now, let's hear the comments from Nick from Passione Atalanta.
Hey Fabrizio, it's Nick. Here's my tidbit. Ultimately, massive 3 points for Atalanta. Fiorentina lost to Empoli today, which was really surprising, so we gained some valuable points on the standings for them to get closer to the top 4. But it was nervy. It was a nervy one. It really was like a 1-0 game if you really think about it till that final minute. But a lot of positives for Atalanta. We got to see our front three that we've been clamoring for a while with Lookman, Scamacca, and De Ketelaere. Didn't really get going until De Ketelaere came off, but we can see how good of a focal point Scamacca can be for us. Not just scoring goals, but helping with distribution and contribution on the assist sheet too, if we really need him to get there. So if we can get him clicking, if we get Lookman clicking like he's already done, Cup Miners comes back, we obviously didn't have one of our best players, then things are starting to look really nice, and we can hopefully just keep building off this form, both midweek in the Europa League and then going forward in Serie A. Thanks.
Thanks truly to both. These were Dan and Nick from Atalanta Pod. So back to us. The good thing is, like all the teams at the bottom, except the bottom 3 that tied, and Empoli, which climbed to the 4th last from second last that they were, all of the other ones, and I'm including Monza, Frosinone, Sassuolo, Torino, Genoa, and Verona, all have lost, including Lecce that has tied. So it didn't really, what I'm trying to get with this, it didn't really change much on the standings point. But the only thing I want to say is essentially, and I like almost to give the title to the pod for this one, but it's my beef, more or less what I said before, is the double standard. And that's the part that really gets me really going with respect to the quality or type of people that we have officiating, and more so in the VAR room.
That's ridiculous.
Anyways, before we go to the break, I wanted to quickly talk about Primavera. So we haven't talked about them in a while. So they are at the same level of points as we are. So not doing fantastic, but not at the bottom of the table. So we are at 8 points, so 12th out of 18. And the results are essentially, last time we talked about them, we had that 3-3 against Monza And then we had another match again in Coppa Italia Primavera where we won 3-2, but at the end it ended up being 3-0 because they had an extra player that was not supposed to be in their lineup because of the age restrictions. After that, there was a loss at home against Lazio, 2-1. Reminds you of Lazio, where they're very strong. And then we had a win at Bologna. And just 2 days ago, so we're recording on Tuesday, October 24th, so on Sunday, 22nd, Genoa had lost on an away trip again against Juventus, 3-2. But the result is only indicating the fact that it was a very competitive match and we were kind of unlucky in a way because of their goals and so on. But it's not reflective of the actual performance. They played very well, 2 great goals as well, and hopefully we're still going to get great results. Anyways, I don't think we have anything else you wanted to talk about before we go to the break, Matt.
No, unlucky. We've got a big match, obviously, against Salernitana, which we'll talk about next. And look,
let's go. Yeah.
The only thing I want to say is yes, you mentioned before we're right now in 15th. You have to look at where we are, and personally, I think this is actually a relatively encouraging place to be. We're sitting in 15th on 8. It's kind of compact when you look between where Monza are, maybe if you want to include Lecce up at 10th place, 13th to 8th, where we are, 5 points difference. But you have to factor in at this point of the season, already we've played Milan, who are 2nd. We've played Napoli, who are 4th. We've played Fiorentina, who are 5th, and look pretty darn good this season. We've just played Atalanta. We've played Roma, who are 7th. We've played Lazio, who are 9th. We've gone up against most of the really, really difficult teams you expect to have a really hard time playing against. The only 2 of that group, Juventus and Inter, who are to come. And I think there's a lot of positive notes here, especially when you consider we probably should have had a point against Milan. We probably should have had a point against Atalanta. We probably should have done a little bit better as well.
Torino, Lecce, etc. No,
Right.
That's true. Like, even if you look at it from last year's perspective, Matt, if we played, I think, against 6 of the top 8 teams from last year as well. Not only from now, but also from last year.
Mm-hmm. And you take some of those points, like let's just say we end up getting 3 draws in places where we've lost. We're now level with points with Lazio at night. So, I think there's a lot to be encouraged by. Obviously, you can't go back and erase the past or undo things, but there's a really good positivity about this team. I think all Genoani are probably thinking about the team in the same way. Like, we can't be too negative right now. It's not a time for that.
No, absolutely. I think we're still, some people have called us as underachieving, so we should have gotten less, but I think overachieving. I think we are a little bit on the underachieving, but at the same time, if you look at the statistics, obviously it goes more for the overachieving, but I think stats sometimes can be a little bit cloudy. Anyways, having said this, let's go to the break, which we have a great guest coming right up. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, and I approve this message. Benvenuti, welcome back, bentornati, I should say, to La Lantana 2. This is the half where we talk about our next match now. So as we talked in the first half about the sadness against Atalanta and so on, but now we're facing one of our direct contenders for the fight against relegation. And with us, we have Olindo Voria, and we'll see if I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Salernitana Club Philadelphia. Welcome, Olindo, to our pod.
Yes, perfect.
Welcome. Olindo, I got to say, I follow you guys on Instagram. And I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing. And I have to ask you, being in New York and being in the Upper East Side, although one of my Genoa Club New York mates might cringe. Have you been to San Mateo up here in New York? Have you ever been up here? I know they're big Salernitana fans.
Yes, many times. We have a good relationship with them. We visit many times. I think we've been there. It's hard with the scheduling. Usually the lower teams in Italy, you guys know, we get the short end of the stick, so we get the bad times. We play on Fridays, on Mondays, but whenever it's like a good time, like mid-afternoon, I always try to go up there. No, but they're great. Pizza's great. Great people, and it feels like home. There's a lot of kids that we grew up here that are fans, Salernitana fans, and their parents say that that's all they talk about.
So I guess that brings us to ask you the question. Talk to us a little bit more about the Salernitana Club Philadelphia. How did it start, and who's in it, and anything?
Well, I'm just gonna start by saying that I could have started it well before I did, like a year before, but I didn't want. I saw in Philly there's a lot of clubs for smaller teams as well. There's a Monza club, first one overseas. I kind of followed their footsteps because I used to work in a restaurant here in Philly that's it's an Italian restaurant, and they have all the games. They're open in the morning because they have a cafe bar. So that's where everybody goes to watch the games. And there's a Napoli club, a Roma club, a Milan club. There's a lot of clubs here. And I just wanted to put my name in too, because I go to watch the games too, and I want to be represented as well. But we're not many people. We're, of course, how many Salernitana fans are going to be in Philly? But we're at least 5, 6, 7, 8. I would say, counting people that visit and that come regularly, that come and go from Italy and Philly. So, we're looking to grow, but it's tough. Hope more people come from there here.
Well, definitely also through our pod, we're also going to tag you and spread more about the existence. And that's always a help. I think also, especially among the smaller teams. And what I mean by smaller is like not the usual ones. It's good to help each other and, root for us rather than the big 5 or big 6.
Yes, it is. And in New York, there's more people in the club. The Manhattan Club has at least 20 to 30 people. And it's more of a lot of Italians from Salerno visit New York rather than Philly. So there's more visiting fans.
Well, comes to ask you this question. So what's your roots that connects you to Salerno?
I was born in Agropoli in the province of Salerno. My dad grew up in Salerno. He used to jump the fence to go to the old stadium. I only came to the U.S. 4 years ago, but I've always followed it since I was a kid. I always dreamt that we'd go to Serie A, and now that we're here, it's tough being far away, but I got to go once against Milan. The first year we tied 2-2, but I hope to go again soon. But I'm in school now, so I'm waiting to graduate, and then I'm gonna try and go more often.
Well, I have to say that your English is fantastic, unless you were speaking it also in Italy. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I was. My mother is Italian American from the province of Salerno, so I have a good background. So I had to get a little bit of both.
A good teacher.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess let's talk a little bit more about the season going on. So we remember you guys 2 years ago when we sadly went down and we were fighting. And then suddenly Salernitana started to do these amazing wonders with our friend Davide and Nicola as well, right?
Yep.
And at the end we went down and you guys stayed up, but I think with a few points, not even like, for the few points, but so that was great for you guys. Last year, I think I can consider it quite a stable season without even much, danger looking towards down. It was like a good and comfortable season. I can't remember now what place you stayed, but it was quite good. But this year, what's going on, Olindo? What's happening?
I think it all stems from when Paulo Sousa, I don't know if you heard, but back in June, he went to dinner with De Laurentiis, looking to get his name out for the Napoli coaching job. And per contract, he was allowed to do that. He had a 10-day window to search for another destination if he was interested. But then after that, he could just activate the extra years. I think 2 years. And so that shifted the emotions between him and the city and the team. And fans felt betrayed. I didn't feel betrayed because I thought, honestly, good for you going to the Champions to see if you can get a job there. But I expected him to come back and be back as professional and do his job here too. But it started with the first game in Roma was great. We played amazing and we almost won in Rome. But after that, I felt like he was trying to do his part to get fired. And the last game against Monza was really disappointing. I think it's obvious that this team doesn't want to play for you, and they don't want to play with the 3-4-2-1 anymore. And then I think it was a right choice to move on. And I'm happy with Pippo Inzaghi now. I think he's more simple. He's going to put the good players in their spots and just work around that. And I hope we can start getting some points.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, I do remember the reading about it, but ignorance on my side, I actually didn't put the two pieces together, saying that now we have an angry Salernitana with a desire of catching up with the points and so on. So that's going to be quite a tough one, if I may say, because usually when things like this happens, when you see that the team is mutiny against the coach and so on, and a new one comes in, usually it tends to be good for them.
Yes, and we got a good tie against Cagliari. I think their first goal, the 1-0, came in 10 minutes from the end, and it was a mistake from our player. I think without that mistake, it would have likely ended 0-0. But I guess a tie is good. I'm happy with it. It's better than a loss. But I hope in the end they put in this player from Nigeria. His name's Ikwemesi. He has a super long name, and I believe that he should play as a first striker, and Diaz should play behind him. And
I'm hearing quite.
They still haven't tried that.
Ups and downs about for the fact of not performing well, but it could be because he was not playing well with Sosa. Maybe, I don't know, but
yes, could be. No, Sosa he's been negative since August. Each player that we bought, he's been saying, I don't know him or he's not good. But I think if they don't play, then how are we going to know if they're good? He just kept them on the bench the whole time. So I hope, I want to see it with my own eyes that they're not good, because I don't believe they're not good, because I think De Santis, our sporting director, he's been doing a good job. And this year they're trying to maintain the budget low and try to build a base and sell maybe some of these young players. But I think they're good players. They have good potential, but they just need playing time.
And I'm looking at your calendar, and so up until the third, finally and last national break, I'm tired of that. But you have the match in Genova against Genoa, then Coppa Italia at home against Sampdoria. So please remember that you have to win that one.
Yes.
And then
yes.
That's a midweek. Then on the weekend after us, you have the derby against Napoli, and then Sassuolo before we go into the break. So what are your expectations with these next turn of matches, including the Coppa Italia?
I'm going to give a hot take. Since in the first 9 games, we've played our best against Roma and Inter. So I wouldn't be surprised if our best performance would be against Napoli. Since they're also a bit struggling, I think mentally they've been winning, but I think that if something goes wrong, maybe they get scored on, they might have, I don't know, they might see some ghosts and we might be able to get a point. But I know playing in Genoa is going to be difficult, especially on a Friday night. I don't know. I think I looked at the forecast. I think it's going to rain too. So I think it's going to be a tough game. Napoli, it's going to be difficult, but we're going to try our best. I think against Napoli, I just don't want to lose 3-0 or 4-0 because I have a lot of friends that would make fun of me. So I hope it's, even if we lose, because they're a great team, I hope it's not by a lot. And Sassuolo is always playing in Sassuolo. We haven't had good luck. Last year we lost 5-0, but when they came to Salerno, we beat them 3-0. So it's you never know. Salernitana is I say it's magic, because sometimes they're magic. They can do everything. They look awesome, and then sometimes they just it's like they're not playing. So I don't know. I think our best option, like we could get the most points out of Genoa just because of the level of the team, and new in the Serie A. They have an inferior roster to Naples and to Napoli and Sassuolo. Not to offend you, but I think
No, it's
that's
true.
pretty reasonable.
It's a fact. Yeah, I mean,
No.
to make it at least our memory of Sassuolo anyway is pretty much magic from the season we went down, because it seemed like every you guys played, it was a crazy result. And it's also a little bit frightening, I have to say, like with Pippo Inzaghi back as your manager, just because obviously we saw him quite a lot last season in Serie B and what he was doing with Medina at the time. And I think we split the series with them last year, but they had a fantastic campaign and were kind of unlucky to not find themselves in the promotion at the end of the season. So I think he'll have some ideas, and he certainly has faced Gilardino before. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting match. I agree.
For sure, we're going to get the best of Inzaghi probably after the national break, because it gives him enough time to get to know the players better and so on. But definitely he will bring some good impact.
Yes. I absolutely don't think we're in an emergency now, because I've seen the past 3 years and teams have been doing bad until February and then still managed to be safe. Like same thing with Salernitana 2 years ago. So I don't think it's an emergency. I think it was a healthy change, and I hope they play in their position. And Inzaghi is a coach that he puts his players first. He doesn't put his ideas first like Sosa. He's more tied to what he does and not what is best for the team. So I honestly want to see a 4-2-3-1 with Dia on the wing. I think he scores more goals when he's not in the center.
When he's a winger. Yeah, no, that's interesting and scary at the same time. No, you're right. Absolutely. Pippo is more, he loves his players. And to Matt's point, I think what happened last year to bring them, at the tail end of the playoffs was more about what happened with
financials,
the financials and the judiciary aspect of Regina. And that's what started played things on, rightfully so, on everybody's mind.
We've been through it. 2011, we've been through it. We started from Serie D and we made it back up, even though Lotito, you remember, he was our owner, even though it wasn't in his best interest to bring us back to Serie A. But I think the miracle happened that year and we were free.
So Lotito was more of a prison, is that what you're saying?
He just wanted a team in Serie B where he could farm players, and I don't know. I don't want to get into any financial aspects because I know the authorities are looking into it too. So,
well,
it's not my business.
One thing I wanted to talk about in the first half, and I forgot about that, Matt, and just quickly touch upon it, about this whole gambling aspect of some youth players that are happening right now in Serie A. Where some people are saying, well, the addiction for gambling is not actually true. These kids are just spoiled and so on. I think it is definitely an addiction when it happens to that levels. They should all be treated the same, regardless whether it is an addiction or whether they did it on purpose. But because I'm here and I'm getting a little bit upset when they say no, addiction towards gambling doesn't exist. God damn it, it does exist.
No, it does. It has the same effects as other addictions.
Exactly.
On the brain of the person. So, yeah.
For sure. And I heard even stories about Fagioli that he was being blackmailed and death threats and stuff like that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I know he owes money to Dragusin too.
He does?
Have you read that?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Dragusin used to play for us. Dragusin played for us. He did pretty well. He didn't get much space, but he was young. He was my age. So he was young 2 years ago.
So no, we're Dragusin right now, I think, is probably considered one of the best players of our team. And rumors have it that the evaluation right now of his price tag is around the 30 million, which is not bad actually if you consider from all he has done. Anyways, so I guess the best thing right now is let's dig into the next match. So it's Genoa Salernitana. You guys are coming up to Genova. after, as you just mentioned before, about the back and forth, and finally for Paulo Sousa to be sacked, and now with Pippo Inzaghi having Gilardino, as he's been on with Genoa since at least over a year now, so half of last season, and now also the beginning. So he's getting his feet wet and getting a little bit more prepared and so on. We said that also in the first half, where Genoa has played out of the 9 matches, again, 6 of the top 8 from last year, and now onwards, including starting from the match against you guys. It's our opportunity, and that's nothing against you, of course, but that means all the other teams that are on the lower half of the standings, where maybe the true colors of Genoa might come out. But as you said as well, on the opposite side, we have Salernitana that has that needs points, because they're, as you said, you're not in an endangered zone yet, but obviously you still want to come out of it. So how do you see the next match coming up?
I think both teams might be scared to lose the game. I think I see it ending as in a draw, for the most part. But I hope Salernitana has more. I think in the lower half of the table, Salernitana plays with Candreva, Dia, and Cabral. I don't think anybody in the lower half has starting 3 attackers that's at the same level as Salernitana. So I hope that the single players could get out of this bad slump that we've been going through, and we just need to score goals and shoot towards the target. But I think Genoa's weakest point might be the defense, and we have a good offense. Our defense is bad. Don't get me wrong; it's not very good yet. We're moving into a back 4 now, but I don't know if you saw the first goal they scored on us, Cagliari. The 2 center backs, Fazio and Giombert, had a little bit of problems in who wanted to go against the attacker, who wanted to go up against him. So a little bit of indecisiveness, if you would say, but I hope they could get back, and I just want to see them fight and try to get points.
Right, of course. Like everybody, every good fan, that's what they want from their team. Obviously, the points is necessary, but what you want is really that they fight through the nose and do their best and so on.
If we lose and they fought, I'm good with that, as long as they keep fighting in the next game as well. So, but
that's the true words of
that the result is.
Those are true words of a real fan. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the formation against Cagliari, and that was a 4-3-2-1. So you were saying that you don't want to see up front, but you wanted the Nigerian. Is that who you said?
Yes, Ikwemesi. He was born in 2001. He's -1.95. He's big. I think he could hold up the ball and create space for Cabral, Dia, and Candreva as well. But Dia, if he has to do the hold-up play, he loses the touch that he usually has, like going on the rebounds from the keeper and scoring on the rebound. He doesn't have that when he's the lone striker. So he's best with somebody bigger next to him that just opens up the space. Ikwemesi, he's not strong technically, but he has big physical qualities that could help create space for the other 3 guys. But we need to find a good balance in the midfield, because we can't just throw people up front and just have nobody in midfield. But luckily we have Koulibaly. I don't know if you've seen him play. Lassana Koulibaly. He's everywhere. I love him. He's the only one I love out of the whole team, because he does everything. He's just a high energy guy, scores some nice goals every once in a while. Sometimes he dribbles, he goes crazy, but he's just a good guy. And I would bring him. I don't know. I would go out with him. I don't know, go out for a drink or something if he drinks.
Well, so you mentioned that your weakest is the defense. What do you think about your midfield, excluding Koulibaly?
I think we have a great player in Bohinen, but in midfield with two people, he doesn't have enough coverage because he's slow, but he needs to read the field. So he needs two people on his side. So I suggest Martegani. He's a young player from Argentina. He's very technical. If we're not playing with a 4-2-3-1, I would like to have him in the midfield with Koulibaly and Bohinen because he could bring a little bit of the offensive touch. But I didn't say that the defense is the weakest. I said they're not doing well now.
Okay,
because we have Lovato and Pirola that were the starting center backs in the under 21 Euros, and Pirola is the captain now. So I think we're pretty good, but they just need to figure things out because this is switching from a back three that didn't work too well to a back four that might work. But we don't have our fullbacks or wing backs, so I think we might need to adapt one of the center backs as a sitting fullback that won't push as much. But I think this team has a lot of players that can do multiple positions. So it's honestly it's up to Inzaghi to see what he thinks is best. But I think 4-3-2-1 or 4-2-3-1 is best for this game.
So how do you see, if you had to give predictions, I know it's a little bit contrary to us Italian trying to for Scaramanzia and Yella and so on, but what do you see the outcome? You talked about a 0-0, but is that what you would think is the final answer for your prediction?
No. So mine's weather-based. If it rains, I think it'll be 0-0. Okay. But if it doesn't rain and if it's a regular, I think there's potential to score a lot of goals because, as I said, the defenses aren't at the top. But we'll see. We'll see how the game goes. I think the first 15 minutes are going to be crucial just to see how they start. And then after that, I think they're just going to relax a bit and then push in the end because just for fear of losing. I think this is, at this point, you just don't want to lose.
And we saw that also against Cagliari, where even though you were under 2-1, even though it came with a penalty, it still meant that you guys were still attacking.
Yes. Yeah. No, it was the ending of the Cagliari game was it was great. It was great to watch. I hoped that we would get on top after tying it the first time, but I think Yankto put in a great ball to Shomurodov which gave the assist to Viola. Viola is somebody that the bad Salernitana fans call for when things are bad. They want Salernitana to sign Viola every year. I don't know why, but I don't think he would fit well in the team. But they call for him. They call for Djuric. They call for Bonazzoli again.
That reminds me of too. Maybe I'm the only guy that still misses him as a Genoa player. But
oh yeah.
But I also, by the way, this is not exactly related to everything we're talking about, but I have to bring up the only because of De Santis' rant 2 months ago or so at the bid from Wolves, which was just absolutely fantastic. That we will not forget, like the whole thing.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, the Salernitana fired their communication manager last year, so they're struggling in communicating to the public as well. I don't think that was necessary, although the offer was a bit insulting because a free loan with the option to pay 20 million at the end of next year it's just for our best player 2 days before the transfer market ends. I think that's not a good offer. After they spoke with the player first and then they went to Salernitana, so they had an agreement with the player and then they gave this offer to the team. I'm like, that's not how you go about things.
It's on deadline day too.
Yeah.
But the whole quote, like, disrespectful behavior, like the whole thing, Fabry, we got to run that audio with the clip. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Nothing against an important historic Premier League club. Nothing against his fans. But to the manager of Wolverhampton, I say, disrespectful behavior, disrespectful offer, me, my president, and all Salernitana's club, don't forget. I repeat, nothing against an important, historic Premier League club, nothing against his fans. Vi ho fatto paura con questa.
Yeah, no, they fired the communication manager last year. I don't know why, but I don't think they found a new person.
Unhinged.
Yeah.
On a sport. I don't know. I think this match is going to be. I'm curious too what's going to happen, because like at the beginning of this season, I think there was a lot of conversation. Gilardino needs to try to test things a little bit more. We're being a little bit too conservative, and I think there's also been a regular pain point, which Fabry mentioned at the beginning of the pod, wasn't exactly the problem against Atalanta, where a lot of times we just kind of seem to run out of gas at the end of the game. And like the way that Gilardino likes to line up and how we've had our matches kind of play out these past, I guess it's already been 9 matches, really no matter what the formation is, we have this kind of coordinated pressing movement that happens throughout the game. And we seem to also ask a fair amount of our players. Like it's not uncommon for our center backs to be in the final third. And likewise, we'll sometimes see our forwards dropping all the way back to receive a pass almost from the keeper. So there's a lot of energy put in to each match. And I think it's probably not unreasonable to think that like some of the matches we've lost or had a tie late in the match because their guys are just getting worn out. So I think for me, that's probably one of the bigger worries. It's encouraging that we're going to have Badel and Strootman back. It's maybe discouraging that we're so dependent on those two in the midfield, but we really are. And it's honestly, I think it's been like 3 or 4 match days actually since they've both been back in the squad. So that's a big boost for us. I think a plus for Salernitana is we will not have Retegui and we won't have Messi.
Oh, really?
Either. Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we'll be out both players. We were hopeful that Retegui would play, but it seems
it's still not 100%, but it's
seems unlikely that he will. And
I think officially he started today a partial training session with the team.
I'm glad Martinez is back. I saw one save from Leali. I was just watching the game in the last game against Atalanta. I saw that one save from Leali. I said, man, good thing the other guy's coming back next week.
That's what I was telling.
I have him on my fantasy, on my Fantacalcio team. Martinez, he hasn't been giving me good points. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna start him because my other is Rui Patricio against Inter. So I think I'm gonna go with Martinez and if he gets scored on a lot, I'm still gonna be happy.
You'll be happy, right? Either way, it'll be good. Yeah, we obviously have love for Martinez too. It was nice to see Leali put in a great performance over the weekend, but I think we'll see Martinez in goal. I think is the expectation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but that's why I think it's kind of interesting because like we're not going to have Retegui. I don't think Gilardino is going to necessarily like lay down and be like ultra conservative in the match, but it is one of those ones, and especially because it's also at home. But it does kind of seem a little bit like, even though you need to get as many points as you can, if we get a draw here, it's actually probably more positive than we might normally think it would be.
Yes, same here.
So I don't know. Like I could see it being kind of a struggle. We're basically going to be dependent on Goodmanson doing something crazy to score a goal.
Yes,
which oftentimes happens, but sometimes we'll have games where he's not fully in it. I think he'll be switched on for this, but I don't know, maybe we don't have as much service going up there. I think it might be like a 1-1 type of a match in the end. I kind of like, apart from a Goodmanson, like for me it's our goals are going to probably come from like either maybe some wonderful Malinovsky free kick or something, which we've not seen yet, but I think he's got we do score a lot from corners, so like maybe like Bani or Dragushin or someone gets a header from there, or it's just some
we're also bad on corners. We're bad at defending corners,
so that seems like the most likely route if we're going to get a goal. And then beyond that, we just need some individual brilliance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had maybe a decent amount of shots, probably not unlike Atalanta, but only a handful on target, and we end up with a goal to our name. And maybe defensively, I think we've been pretty good this season actually, but I wouldn't be surprised, as you mentioned, like there's some decent strike force that Salernitana have, so like we're gonna have to find a way to kind of respond to that, and I wouldn't be totally surprised if we were under pressure for a decent part of the match. So
you're saying a 1-1?
I think 1-1.
Who's gonna score?
Good question.
You mentioned Malinovsky.
I did mention Malinovsky.
You did mention Bani.
I think maybe Vasquez. Maybe the surprise Vasquez goal. Not a guy that we would normally see score goals, but he's been.
I could see that happen.
You could see just like he's had some.
Anybody could score against Salernitana. Somebody that hasn't played in 3 years is gonna score against Salernitana. So it's always the one person.
Yeah, it feels like that kind of match too. Like it feels like one of those ones. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe less so for you guys because I'm kind of a little bit scared of your forwards. But on our side, I wouldn't be surprised if it was that, or maybe even like some strange like Bodell somehow gets on the end of like a cross or something. I don't know. But put me down for Vasquez. I'll probably sound like an idiot come Friday, but that's who I'm saying.
That's fine. I'm going to go a little bit against you guys. Like, so both of you have mentioned a tie. This time, I'm going to be the positive one.
Okay.
I'm usually not the one that is positive. I don't think we're going to have like a goleada, how we say anytime, with a lot of goals. I probably foresee that it's going to be a 1-0. Keep in mind that we will always fear Salernitana's attack, as we mentioned it throughout the pod. But I think our defense, even though it's not necessarily known to be a strong one, we've only conceded forget about the first match, because that's even really not to consider, as we always say that against Fiorentina. But it's mostly based on the fact of the lack of depth in our bench that is creating our issues, and that's why most of our goals are only happening in the last 10. But so going back to what our formation will look like, I think we will recuperate a few players. I don't think we will recuperate all. And what I'm trying to say with this is Badel was the first one to be called up against Atalanta, was not called in the match. So I can think of him coming back on. Strootman having just started to play train with the team today as well, but full training. I can see him being called up, but I don't know if he might be in the starting 11. And so compared to the match against Atalanta, if there is no Retegui, I can see like a 9/10 of the formation to remain the same, having Martinez obviously back, and perhaps instead of Thorsby, move Frendrup to the right and have Badel to the center, and all the rest the same. So having Kuban and Goodmanson up front. But I'm hoping that my thought here is to change what has happened so far, have Retegui called up, not in the starting 11, coming in the second half and being our goal scorer. So I think that could be possible.
Yeah.
Could be unlikely maybe, but it's possible. And it all depends also on the concentration. What I'm trying to say is, like, I think it'll be balanced, as you guys said, throughout the match. A lot of studying around. First 15 minutes are crucial, as Olindo said, and it'll be like those key moments. If no goals happen, then it'll go into a little bit of a stalemate. And I think that press on the accelerator will have to happen at the end. And I think if Retegui comes in, that will make that difference. But, it could be a Malinowski free kick, or a Bani, or whatnot, whoever comes from the bench, hopefully, because they've been, I shouldn't say that they've been a damage, but they haven't helped a lot towards the cause, especially with those last 10 minutes. So yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-0, and I hope so. But that does not mean that you guys have to give in. Not necessarily against us, but especially the match after in Coppa Italia, which I really want you guys to win.
Yes.
For the Coppa
I think, is Pirlo still the coaching?
They don't have any money, so they can't change the coach.
Okay. Well, I think they don't have Coda anymore, right? They don't have Coda. I think that was just Coda is in Cremonese.
Coda was
I heard rumor.
Coda was a rumor that
Coda was
proposed.
in Genoa. Yeah.
But then at the end, he went to Cremonese. Yeah. I think he's the capocannoniere of Serie B right now.
Again?
Yeah, he always is. I don't know if you guys know, but he started in Salerno. He scored, I think, he scored 17 goals, and Alfredo Donnarumma scored 13. We had a 30-goal starting tandem up front, and we won in the playouts that year. It was our first year in Serie B, 2015-16, in Lanciano, against Lanciano.
Wow.
Excuse me?
Played a couple seasons, 85 matches for Salernitana.
Yeah. He played a lot. He was great. Yeah, he scored that one goal against Avellino, a volley with his left foot into the opposite corner. Just crazy.
So yeah, sorry, just to go back to what I was saying. Massimo Coda, top goal scorer for Serie B at 7 goals.
Yeah.
Where 1 out of a penalty, 2 with a header, and 6 in the box.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. He's a machine in Serie B.
Less pressure than here at Genoa, right? So I guess that's what the issue is. All right. I
Yeah.
think we're
Yeah.
at a wrap. So I want before we wrap up and so on, Olindo, I wanted you to reach out, tell us how people can reach out to you in social media or whatnot. How can they reach out to you? And if they wanted to contact you also for the Salernitana Club Philadelphia as well.
Yes, search on Instagram, Philly Granata. It's Granata. I'm sure you can write it in a video or something. Philly Granata on Instagram, and you could find the email address on there. So I just won't go into it. Just there's a big box that says email, so you could just click that on there, or just DM us. It's me. I'll be answering. So that's the way to contact us.
Straight to the source.
Yes, and I want to thank you guys for inviting me. I wasn't expecting it. I've always been interested in podcasts, but I never got into it. So it's my first time, and I think it's awesome. Talk about something that I like with people that know about it. It's great.
Right. I mean, that's like the special thing. We say this a lot, especially with other fans, like from other clubs like this. Like, you don't always have like an outlet to talk about your club beyond maybe like for me, like Genoa Club New York or Fabry in Toronto. So it's fun to talk to other fans at Calcio and just kind of have fun for a little.
No, it's funny because when I was searching out for other Salernitana clubs, I stumbled upon you first. And then obviously I saw two other pages for New York. One was Manhattan, one was NYC. And I said, no, wait a minute. We did New York so many times. Enough with that big city. So I said, let's go out to Philadelphia.
I think they would have been busy. They're all active in the San Mateo pizzeria. So I don't know if they would have been able to sit down on a night when they work. So.
Yeah, restaurant.
I'm glad you called me.
I picked the right one.
Yes.
All right. So thank you very much for being our guest, Olindo. It was wonderful to hear about your story and about your club. So anyone that needs to reach out to him, please do so. As well, we are on all social media. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, reach out as well. Put likes and comments and whatnot. But never forget, always and forever, Forza Genoa. You've listened to La Lanterna, a spotlight on Italian football, a podcast powered by Genoani Si Resta. Thank you for listening and see you next week.